Howdy, folks. Welcome to CE 155, week 4. We are getting into my favorite week, which is our kitchen design. So, um, everyone have fun with designing your front of house. It's not as fun as it sounds. Sorry, it's more fun than it sounds, I think, right? I think most of us, have an idea of what we want to do, how we want to do it, and it's all like it starts with production, right? It starts from your like where I used to work, we call the back of house the heart of house, right? Because it's your heart, it's your foundation. And so most of us have this idea of you know everything like revolving around that. But as I said last week in class, without a great ambiance, great paint, great lighting, it's hard to make to draw guests in, to develop a clientele that thinks your space is cool. My favorite thing to say, none of you have a business in Denver, do you? Okay, so if I trash talk Denver a little bit, that's okay. So no, don't do it, Victoria. You're saying I can't?
I grew up in Denver.
All right, I'll just trash talk a tiny little bit then, all right? And I'll stop. So my favorite thing to say about the restaurant scene where it's been in the last 10 years, I'll go eat out, and my friends will go eat out somewhere, and anytime we ask each other how was it, we can answer the other person's response by saying it was a cool space, because that's it, right? That's all that a lot of places have going for them.
Oh yeah, it's true. Unless you go find like the little tiny itty bitty kind of like single owned type of restaurants. There's a place out in Laurie that I actually worked for a little bit. It's called North Country, and they do like gourmet style street tacos.
Ooh.
Is what they're known for, and it's unless you go places like that, that's all it is.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem. It's a problem, but at the same time, as a business owner, right? These people are thriving, right? They're kicking ass. They're making money.
Oh yeah.
So from one standpoint, it's great. From another standpoint, it's not so great. The one thing that's tricky about creating a really cool space is usually you got to have a lot of money, right? And I don't have a lot of money, so my space was just whatever I could grab from next door and a pawn shop and whatever down the road, and I pieced it all together, and that was my front of house design. And it works, but you look at places, even Southern California is kind of even more known for creating these cool vibes. Like I spent quite a bit of time in San Diego, and there are places there that literally, like, just in their front of house, they've dumped millions, right? I ate at a restaurant that had marble tabletops, right? I mean, I'm like, how do you afford this, right? Another place that I used to like to go to in Southern California was had olive trees inside the space. They actually had living olive trees. They built the space around. They obviously brought the olive trees in from somewhere, and they were non-fruiting olive trees, so you're not just like sitting there and olives are dropping on your head. But the vibe, right, that is created from your front of house, and a lot of these places don't even have great service, right? Because they don't need it. People are there hanging out with their friends. They're in a fun atmosphere. They have cool lighting. They got cool surroundings, and they don't care about anything else. They're gonna buy cocktails. They're gonna buy your food. Doesn't matter if it's not great, and they're just gonna enjoy themselves. So, all that said, even though I'm a kitchen guy, I love the heart of house. I love the back house. It's not necessarily more important, right? We can't say it's necessarily more important. So, and absolutely, it is, regardless of what kind of business you're doing. Your front of house is important because it's the first thing the guest sees. Okay, that's the most important thing I want you folks to remember is that before they get your food, before they get a bite of your food, they see your front house. Even if you're not doing, and Amelia, I'll use you as an example. Like your space was 360 square feet or something like that, right? Right. So tiny space, and her front of house is half of that, right? Or your pickup area.
Yeah.
So we're talking 100 square feet. Yeah, and that's it. But it's important that your paint, you do a good job painting. Your flooring looks nice. Your counter looks nice. Your display cases look nice, because people are going to walk in there, right? Those of you who have like food truck operations, just as important to make sure that you're thinking about what is the guest doing, what are they thinking, what are they seeing when they walk up to the window of my food truck. Okay, that can go as far into as well as like what are they seeing that's going on behind the curtain, right? Because you don't want them seeing like your dishwasher back there, scratching his head and then grabbing something, eating a sandwich or whatever else. You don't want them seeing that, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. The front of house is very important. It's very important. The guest perception is crucial to your business. Okay. Anyone have any questions about the front of house design thing? I think everyone kind of crushed it. So no, all good. I am going to share my screen with you and do a little slideshow. So we're talking about heart of house. Those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about the back of house, or the heart of house as I call it, this week. So. All right, and we're almost done with this block. We're already over halfway through, so that's wild and fun. Okay, kitchen design. Flow. I've said it a lot. I know, and I'm going to keep saying it because flow is what's really most important about design in your business. Okay, how do things move in your restaurant, from your vendors? How do they move through your kitchen, through your production facility, and then how they move out to your guests? Okay, very, very important. Hot food, cold food, right? How do those things flow? Where are you going to burn each other when you're cooking your burgers, right? Because your equipment's too close together. Cold food. Is your cold food storage just like so spread out that if I need to grab a backup of eggs, that I have to run 100 yards away, right? That's not going to work. Okay. Storage, your dry storage, right? Where are your dry goods stored? If I run out of flour and I'm at my mixer, is my flour 200, 300 feet away from my mixer? Does that make sense? Prep work, making sure that that's not in the middle of everything, that you're not prepping while you're trying to execute service and things like that. Sanitation's a big one, with your flow and your design. How do you execute your food and make sure that it's clean, right? So that your guests aren't getting sick. Okay, because you can design a facility that is just booming business, slinging food nonstop, and the minute you get somebody sick because you don't have a hand washing station close enough to these guys, you're done. Okay, it doesn't matter that the guests love you and everyone's happy. If they're vomiting, then they're probably not that happy actually in the end. So sanitation is a big one, right? And I think Sean caught the end of my last class. I gave an example of this. There's a place in Denver that's a food truck, and they were known to make like the best barbecue in town, right? And they recently got closed down because they had no way to keep things hot, hold things hot, right? So they made all their barbecue in the morning, and then sat out on the counter, sat out like in a steam well where all the stuff on top was exposed. And again, I ate there myself, and it was delicious. I thought it was fantastic food, and they are closed down indefinitely by the health department because they didn't, they were given warnings, right? The health department will always give you, unless you're doing something like disgusting, like butchering pigs, while you're making salads, they're going to give you warnings. They're going to let you off easy, right? But by the time you get your second, third warning, you're done, and like I said, this place is closed indefinitely. So that's all because of sanitation. Man,
that's bad. Bad for the barbecue business then, because they would have been pulling it in hand over fist if they'd have just complied once.
Exactly. exactly. And like I said, it was great food. So, you know, and I'm picky, and I thought it was great. So, just something as simple as that, like all they had to do was step back before they opened up and say, what's missing here? What's missing in my design? I got great food. You know, I make some of the best barbecue of anybody in town. I know that for a fact, right? Whatever. I have a food truck that looks like it's going to be super streamlined. I got staffing. I got a space I'm going to park it. And then guess what? You forgot about your hand sink, or you forgot about your holding unit, right? Your hot holding unit. Because if you're prepping all your food for any food truck, and you're planning on just, you know, prepping it at one place and then hauling it over and then just serving it, right? You know, I see these people doing burritos all the time, and they're like it's outside like baseball games and stuff. And they got a cooler and they got the burritos in there. I'm not buying a burrito from them. Right? I don't know how long where they even come from. You know, like I have no idea how long that burrito's been sitting in that cooler. It could be the best burrito I've ever had in my life, but it makes me sick. I don't want it. If it potentially will make me sick because I know for a fact that it's not held at the right temperature, then I'm not buying it. Right? Safety is another big one. And you see this in kitchens a lot more than you see it in the front of house, sort of. But kitchens, you know, have a lot of hot things. They have a lot of, you know, grease, slippery floors, things like that. So making sure that when you design your kitchen, you have, you know, mats, or you have the right kind of flooring. You know, and they make tons of different kinds of flooring right now that range in price from, you know, a couple bucks a foot to, you know, $20 a foot. And usually the more you pay for them, the safer they are, the more durable they are, the longer they're going to last, the more grease resistant, etc. Right. So, but safety is a big one. And that doesn't mean just like, you know, people not dying. It means people not getting cut, or people not getting little burns on themselves. Right. So that's all about spatial organization, making sure that your hot equipment is not butting up against each other, so your cooks aren't on top of each other. So when they turn around, they're slinging a burger into somebody, you know, especially the fryer. I see this all the time, you know, putting a fryer, first of all, too close to your grill or your griddle is super dangerous, because you have splatter from and a lot of things with water in them on your grill. And that's splatters going into your fryer. And then you have huge messes going on, right? You know, grease fires, things like that. No good. Now you can get guards to separate your hot equipment, which I recommend with a fryer for sure. And actually, I think it's most places it's going to be a requirement. You have stainless steel sides up around the thing to protect you, right? Movement, you know, how people are moving through the facility. Again, that ties back into everything else. Efficiency is a big one, and there are, you know, there are multiple steps. I think we've mentioned this already, but there are multiple steps to every dish that you make. And the most efficient dishes are not necessarily produced by the fastest cooks, or they're not necessarily the dishes with the fewest steps, right? They're the dishes, the most efficient dishes you have in the kitchen are the ones that you don't have to move a whole lot to deal with, right? If I'm making an omelet and I have my pan in front of me, right? We're not just talking about where the food's stored. We're talking about everything, okay? Executing an omelet. I grab my pan, bring my pan down, say it's ham and cheese. Put my ham in there, put my egg in there, ladle my egg in there, go back to my burner, cheese, salamanders in front of me as well, okay? That's efficient. What's not efficient, and I've experienced this firsthand numerous times, is my eggs are behind me, okay? So I got to go behind me to get my eggs. My pan is, you know, over to my right? So see, I'm already like juking around, right? My salamander, I have to take steps to get down to my salamander. Those things to melt my cheese on my omelet, those are all huge inefficiencies, okay? Little things like that can make or break your business during service. It can make, you know, a minute. If it takes an extra minute to make that omelet, and I make 100 omelets, right? That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time that I'm wasting just because I didn't organize my equipment properly. Okay. Stations of the line. Okay, and this is really important when you're thinking about where your dishes are going to go. And we already kind of talked about this a little bit too. Organizing things based on stations, right? Pantry, garde-manger, grill, griddle, etc. Stations of the line are where these items produced out of. And I know I told a lot of you, in that the earlier assignment, it really makes sense to divide up each dish so that there are multiple people working on every dish. Okay, so that one person, if you have 7 or 8 tickets that are all this omelet that we're talking about, this one person doesn't have to necessarily do everything for the omelet. Okay, maybe they do the ham and the cheese and the egg. Obviously, that makes sense. And then they throw it on a plate, and then someone else finishes it with hash browns, and then someone else, even further down the line, finishes it with parsley, and then it goes to your server, and the server finishes it with toast and jelly. Okay, that's going to help so that your egg cook doesn't have to all of a sudden be like, okay, I have 6 omelets on my board, but I'm going to stop cooking this one omelet because I'm done with it. I'm going to put it on my plate. I'm going to find my hash browns wherever the hell they are. Put my hash browns on the plate. Oh, damn, I forgot to drop my toast. Now I got to drop my toast. And so meanwhile, these other omelets that I have tickets for are just waiting. He's not cooking, right? This person's not cooking. Meanwhile, I have guests waiting for this food. So I'm compromising their experience. My omelet's probably getting cold, right? So dividing up, you're delegating some of these duties out, into different stations on your line is really important. I strongly recommend that regardless of what you're doing, that the same person who starts the dish doesn't necessarily finish the dish, okay? We'll talk about that further down here in the course, but dish pit, this is a big one. Often overlooked, right? Because we pay dishwashers usually less than we pay everyone else. Dirty dishes, there's nothing glamorous about them at all, okay? So oftentimes we forget about the dish pit, right? Where are our dirty dishes going to go? How are they going to get there? How many garbage cans are around there for people to scrape plates and whatnot? Where are the clean dishes going to go after after they come out of my machine? Do I even have a machine? Is it a 3-compartment sink instead of a machine? I've seen restaurants really struggle because they don't have clean plates, right? I worked in some pretty high volume places that we did 600 to 900 covers in a 6-hour period, and the one thing that always brought us down was a poorly designed dish pit, right? That this one person couldn't do their job properly, and so everyone suffered because of it, right? Ticket times are struggling not because the cooks aren't executing the food fast enough, but because the dishwasher can't do his job because they don't know, they're not organized, right? So very important. Take care of the dish pit. Make sure it's also convenient for your servers to go from wherever they're checking in on guests to the dishwasher, right? And drop off their dirty dishes. And you also need a hand sink there, because when the servers are handling dirty plates, dirty silverware, dirty glasses, they can't just go right back out and start grabbing some clean glasses of beer or whatever to bring to your next customers. They need to make sure the hands are sanitized and clean. Waste disposal I talked about a little bit, but again, I've seen this. I've seen beautifully designed kitchens that were designed into very tight spaces. And those of us on a budget know that we're going to try to cram as much as we can into as small of a space as we can. Okay, and I respect that. Believe me, I do. But don't forget about trash, right? Where are you going to put your trash? Because I've seen this before. Everything else was designed in literally to the inch, right? I've worked in kitchens that we designed that were down to the square inch. of space. And guess what we forgot? Waste disposal, trash cans. And when you have four stations that are working a high volume line, and none of them have a trash can worked into it, things get weird, right? Things get a little interesting. And then you go back, then it goes back to sanitation, because sanitation becomes a concern, because these people are literally throwing garbage on the floor at times. I'm sure you folks have walked into, you've seen some high volume bars where the bartender is just slinging like crazy and they're not set up properly behind their bar. So all their like linen is just laying around. Dirty linens are on the floor. Dirty dishes, right? I'm sure, dirty glasses, things like that. So disposing of things is really, that's something to be thinking about, right? Where are you going to put dirty stuff? Where are you going to put, stuff that's just absolutely trash, right? Where's that going to go? Broken glass, things like that, very important. Delivering and receiving, I did mention where, if my order, okay, so you can set up your orders for whatever time you want, all right? You can set up your orders. If you got a bakery, you can set up your order to be there every morning when you get there at 3 a.m., all right? Because after you want to check it in, make sure you're getting the right product and make sure everything that you ordered is actually there and is in the condition you wanted it. You do that, but guess what? The driver woke up late, or the driver got a flat tire, or the last order that he had actually took him an hour longer than he thought, and now he's not showing up till 4, right? So that's in the middle of your production time, right? You're doing all your doughs and stuff. Okay, so just because you have an idealistic image of where your orders come in and when they come in doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I would say most of the time it's probably not going to happen based on my experience. These folks kind of show up whenever they want to sometimes, right? And if you have, if you set up your delivery for the only place that you can get your delivery is coming through the front of house, which I've seen in restaurants before, and you're like, okay, well, I'll just set it up for a night drop, right? Leave a key in a box, give the driver the combo to the key box, and they come in at night. Well, all of a sudden they show you don't have any food. You're running out of food because they showed up 8 hours late, and they're trying to come in the middle of service. You're gonna say no. You're gonna say yes. You're gonna have a driver wheel everything through your front door, and really, which is embarrassing. Or you're gonna run out of food. I don't know, right? So make sure in most spaces that I worked in, you have two plans for that. Okay. So you have a backup plan in case your order doesn't come in when you want it to. But if you have the luxury of doing it, I highly recommend isolating your delivery space to your kitchen, to a space where your guest isn't going to see things. Okay. In pass window or expo, we talked about how does food flow out of there. They are they're going to be receiving the food before the guest receives it, the last hands on it. So making sure that is streamlined is very important. I'll show you an example here. Okay, so I'm sure you guys all looked at the lesson, or maybe you didn't yet, which that's fine, but the lesson for this week talks about different shapes, right? How is your design shaped? How is your flow shaped? Pivot, pass, how does one plate of food get executed? Okay, so in this example here, right, we're starting at the stove, we start at the refrigerator, right? Go to the stove, and then go out. Maybe let's pretend looks like a sink, but let's pretend it's our pass window. Okay, that's efficient. Okay, your cook, say she's standing right here. She's gonna grab everything out of the refrigerator, put it in her pans, which are stored underneath here, and then go to cooking things on the stove. Boom, out the door. That's efficient. Triangles are good shapes. Now, if this is a bigger, so say this is a 12-foot space instead of a 4-foot space from one end to another, maybe this is 3 different cooks, right? So she's here doing cold prep, and this is a prep counter. She's doing her cold prep here, and then she's doing a chicken salad, okay? She makes the salad, the lettuces and all that stuff go on here, the croutons, Parmesan cheese, boom, slides it here on the table. Okay, no communication is necessary between these two. Your cook, now this person throws the chicken in their pan, cooks the chicken, spins around, boom, salad's right there, throws it on the salad, and then over here to our right is our expo. So food sits here. There's a heat lamp at that point, right? There's a heat lamp. So this is your holding area. Heat lamps here. Chicken salads under the heat lamp for a minute. Not too long, obviously. You don't want to wilt that lettuce. And then the expo grabs it. Boom, out the window. Cool? So that's efficient. Whether it's one person or three people, this triangle shape is efficient. Linear shapes are also efficient, right? So just a straight line. If you're passing things, you know, from your, let me get my little pencil out here and I'll just do some doodling since I'm super good at that. All right, so let's say instead you got a person here, and this person's here, right? Let's just pretend all this is not here. Wow, I got a little out of hand already. Anyhow, let's pretend our guests are over here where his big circle is, and let's pretend this is our line. Okay, so this is our expo out here, right? And then this is our front of house. Okay, so another efficient line would be cold station here, where this person's working the cold station. You got your grill or saute cook here in the center, and then say you have, you know, desserts and finishing here. Boom, out the door. Okay, so that's a linear example, and that can work. You know, in a lot of this too, it depends on what shape your space is. Okay, because not everyone's going to have a square kitchen. I mean, it'd be ideal, and most places are square, but you know, I've definitely worked in a lot of kitchens that are more rectangular shaped, right? So then a linear design in a rectangular shaped kitchen makes a lot more sense than doing triangles, right? So passing from your right to your left on down the line, that makes a lot more sense, okay? And depending on your shape of your kitchen. Let's see here. Okay, so this is an example of a triangular design as well. More or less. So this girl here, she's doing saute. Looks like she's got a couple fryers there. Okay, so cold station maybe is over here, and then my finish is here. This is my front of house, right? Cool. I'm getting better at this pencil. I really feel like I've come a long way in just 4 weeks, right? Okay, so hot food, cold food, finishing, garnishing, etc., and then out the door. Again, this is efficient. This is a square space, but it's an efficient use of the space. Now, one thing to look at here is, say I'm slow. Okay, say business is slower than usual. This person's not here. No big deal, right? Because this person passes to this girl over here. She finishes, boom. She can take a couple steps and pass out the window. Now, if I'm cranking, I can throw another person here by the fryer, right? I can throw, looks like there's ovens or something over here. I can throw another person over here because there's a flat surface to prep on. There's a couple, maybe steamer, an oven, something like that. So you could potentially, hypothetically, work with a 5-person kitchen or as little as a 2-person kitchen, okay? And that's another huge part of this, this kind of efficiency thing, is making sure that you have the ability to either add more people or take somebody away, right? Depending on your business. Cool. Dishes, where are they washed, stored, dropped off? We talked about this, okay? So I just found some examples of some different things for you folks, just so we can get different perspectives, okay? So this here, the actual dishwasher, the mechanical dishwasher is in the corner. Now, your drop off, right, for your dishes is probably going to be here, okay? Because again, it's in the corner. So how is that inefficient, right? Look, the clean dishes are also here, right? I don't see a counter over here. I personally would add a counter here, and I can't see if there's space or not, but This is a very poorly designed dish pit in my opinion. Okay, because where do your dirty plates come in? Where are they dropped off, right? And then another thing too, if you're dropping your dirty plates here, you also want to have your sanitizer set up in one of these sinks, right? Wash, rinse, sanitize. So then where's your sanitizer going to be? Right? It doesn't make any sense. So, you know, usually your wash, rinse, sanitize, but if you're dropping your dirty plates here, you can't have your sanitizer here. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense either. And again, the biggest crux here is all these nice clean dishes are going to get super dirty. Another thing I just like to point out, because I'm a sanitation guru, is they got all these chemicals stored here, right? Look at these spray bottles, unlabeled even. How dare them, right? So just keep in mind, you know, a chemical storage is another important one, right? Where we store our chemicals and making sure we're storing them properly. This thing, even though it looks gross because it looks like there's some stuff dripping from the top of it, I don't know if you guys can see that, but anyway, this is an efficient design, okay? Because you can drop off your dirty over here, right on the left side of the screen, and then maybe there's a sprayer over here, I don't know, in the machine, and then out clean. Okay, I think all this stuff's clean here. That's a cluster. That's a terrible. They should be putting it away. But anyway, that's you know, that I'm assuming that's all clean stuff, right? So, let's see what else. Oh, this is a fun one. So I worked at a university doing like high volume food service when I was younger, and they have these awesome conveyor machines that are just massive, and all you literally do is, and these are like 5-person dish pits. And so those of you who are doing like plan on high volume catering, or maybe you're planning on opening like, you know, a big chain or something like that, or working it for a corporate company. You know, a lot of corporate places have the money and the volume to justify something like this. So they have like their first dishwasher is like over here, right by the sprayer. So all their dirty stuff's coming in here. Boom. All they do is throw the stuff on a rack, wash, rinse, sanitize, done. And I think the cycles take like 30 seconds or something stupid fast like that. So again, you want to have the space for that, but look at how efficient this is. Then they take all the clean plates, they just throw them right here, boom, and then wheel them out. Okay, so retirement homes, hospitals, facilities like that. Any of you who are going to go into that type of industry, which I recommend because oftentimes they pay really well, is they have facilities like this, right? That are just massive, super elaborate. Okay, so this is more like my style of dish pit, right? Because it's cheap. Okay, so they have three compartment sink. Okay, and this you can almost get away with something like this, in a small commissary kitchen, at home kitchen. Those of you who are doing like personal chef stuff, getting a sprayer that mounts on your sink, and then having your 3 comp here. And they do have a dishwasher here. It looks like it's just a single rack. But this is an example of cheap but efficient, right? Because although there are clean dishes over here on the left, they're above all my dirty stuff. Okay, so we're not worrying about cross contamination and things like that. Okay, and this is I feel like maybe you feel like I'm spending a lot of time on dish pit design, but trust me, I've seen so many places that are so poorly designed because of their dish pit area. And again, if your customers don't have plates or they have dirty plates, or you have a poorly designed dish pit, so your organization sucks and you're breaking stuff all the time, you're going to lose money. Okay, and we're all here to make money. So, oh, cool. So I have this one on the far right here too. I forgot about this one. So this is in a food truck, right? So this is a super condensed version of something you could do. Tight space, tight budget, because all you need to be able to do is fit the largest item you have should fit in your 3 comp sink. So if you're doing all your prep off site for this facility, and all you have is like some plates, some spatulas, some little things like that, this 3 compartment sink's plenty big, even if it's only like you know, a small box like, you know, 10 by 10 or 10 by 8 or something like that. That's totally fine. And then they've gone a step further. They got their hand sink right here too, right next to it, which you should, right? So that's awesome. Super efficient use of space. Okay, out of the dish pit and back into the kitchen. So line pastry prep production. Again, you see here we got the triangle, right? It doesn't really matter what this equipment is specifically, okay? It doesn't matter how your food is passed from one station to another, as far as cold, hot, cold, garnish, etc. What matters is that you're thinking about it spatially more efficiently, okay? So here we have, you know, maybe our prep area is over here, right? If we're doing, say we're doing a bakery, right? Our prep area is here. So all our hot equipment's here, and then boom, pass it over here. This is our frosting station, our garnish station, etc. And then boom, pass it over here, and then maybe this is my front of house. Okay. So again, this triangular shape, right? That is not a triangle that I drew at all, I realize, but look at the one underneath it that I did draw. So passing it out to the guests finally. Right, and then maybe there's somebody over here who's doing some last minute garnish work, things like that, right? And again here, so look, say this is our dishwasher, right? I know it's not because this doesn't say it is, but say this is our dishwasher, this is our front of house. So we're walking in here with the dirty dishes, dropping, and then we go back out front. Okay, that's again an efficient, that helps our heart of house, our kitchen, be more efficient, and our front of house. Because we don't want our servers to have to walk way in here, you know, walk around and whatever else before they can actually drop their dishes off. Because then that's taking time away from the guest, right? We don't want that. Okay, so this one's important. How you decide to set up your expo station, right, is totally up to you. If you want to have that be servers or bussers, even some low hourly people who are taking care of that stuff for you, that's totally fine. Keep in mind that those are the last hands and eyes on your food. So if you're doing anything that requires finishing work, sauce work, garnish work, attention to detail all around, I recommend that your chef goes there, your kitchen manager goes there, okay? Every kitchen that I've worked in recently, anyway, in the past 7 years or so, we have had the chef or the kitchen manager in charge of the expo or the expo window, because they have the ability to say, and you know, throughout service is crazy, chaotic, slinging plates out, the chef can say, stop. This has to go back. This doesn't look how it needs to. You know, the burger's overcooked. The bun's still cold. You know, whatever it is. This pastry does not have the right frosting on it. You put the caramel buttercream on the one that's supposed to have chocolate buttercream. Right. So you can say that if you're the last hands and eyes on the food. Okay. As a business owner, I don't. You know, if I want to go and help out my restaurant, I don't go in the kitchen and hang out there. I don't go to the host stand, right? I go to the window between my guests and my kitchen, okay? Because then I can control everything. I can say yes, no, yes, no. I can see everyone in there in the kitchen. I can see all the guests in the front house. So you're really in a great position to control everything. And I'm a control freak, so you know, got to be there. Again, it's up to you. A lot of, you know, like you look at like Perkins, places like that where they're doing a, you know, high volume breakfast. They're turning and burning and just slinging stuff out. All their finishing work is toast and jelly. Okay. In that case, I don't even think Perkins has a chef or kitchen manager. I think they just have a manager that looks over everything, which is totally fine. I'm not trash talking Perkins. I love Perkins, actually. Delicious food. Anyway, you know, that's totally up to you to determine with your concept, you know, what is important, which station is the most important, right? Put your kitchen manager there, put yourself there as an owner, okay? Back to the slides. All right, storage. Storage is super important in your restaurant, okay? There are 3 different types of storage that we're going to talk about. One is called active storage. One is called long-term storage, one called backup storage, okay? So active storage is what we're actually using for service. So whether that is my meat, my cheese, my bread, my mustard mayonnaise for a sandwich, or whether that's my pastries and my sliced breads and things like that for my service in a bakery situation, right? So that's active storage, okay? And that doesn't mean it has to be cold storage, right? If I'm doing pastries, my active storage is my cooling racks, okay? I don't want to refrigerate most of my pastries, or I shouldn't need to refrigerate any of them. So I'm storing everything on my cooling racks, but that's my hot line essentially, right? So that when I get an order, I can just have my person who's working back there grab it off the cooling rack, off the storage rack, put it on a plate, boom, okay? So that's active storage. Tops of coolers are also active storage. Sometimes I've seen places that have the coolers, like the under counter storage coolers that normally would slide under something, and they use them as prep tables. And then you can also store like nuts for salads, or chocolate sauce to finish something with. You can store things that can be stored at room temperature out on top of those. Okay, so that's an example of active storage. Now, don't just assume that you're going to have plenty of active storage for all of your dry goods. Okay, because if you have an example of a business that has both cold prep food and hot or room temperature prep food, then you want to make sure you have specific locations in mind before you start doing your design. You want to think about where these things are going to go. Okay, because maybe I didn't buy a under counter cooler. Maybe I bought a sandwich prep cooler, right? The ones that have the hinged lid. You know what I'm talking about? And if I have a ton of dry finishing work, or things like I said, like nuts, like maybe I'm doing a shaved truffle on something, things that I don't need to keep in refrigeration during service. I don't want them cold, right? So thinking about where those things are going to go is very important. One simple way, if you just have a couple of garnish items that need to be kept cold, they don't need to be super cold. Great way to do that is with a bar caddy. Okay, so if you have like microgreens, or some sort of pickled vegetables, something like that don't need to be like super cold, but you want to keep them chilled, you can use a bar caddy. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say bar caddy? Anybody? No? Okay, so bar caddies are like, you get them for free from your liquor reps if you buy liquor as well. So they're like the little things that like you'll see at a bar. They have like olives and maraschino cherries and pickles and things like that.
Olives and lemons and limes and all that good stuff in there with
Yes.
the bar with the alcohol on top.
Yep. You got it. Exactly. So that's a bar caddy. So all you do is put ice in it, and then you can fit like ninth pan, right? Like ninth of hotel pan size pans inside of them, and you can load them up with stuff. So this works cool if you're doing like fresh berries on top of on top of a pastry or something that's frosted already, right? And you want to just finish it with some berries or something like that. Maybe you don't need to buy a small cooler. Maybe you can have like 2 or 3 of these little bar caddies, and you can get away with it. Keep in mind that you will have to maintain 41 degrees or below for any prepped items that you're serving, okay, in accordance with the health department regulations. But bar caddies are a sweet way to do kind of last minute, simple things that need to be stored cold. Long-term storage. Now, long-term storage are things that you're not going to need to get to in the middle of service, okay? This is like your main dry storage, right? Your bulk your bulk flour in your rolling bins, your bulk sugar in your rolling bins, oats, things like that are, you know, more of a long-term storage type situation. Walk-in cooler typically is considered long-term storage. Okay, so figuring out where that's going to go is important. Let me just tell you a quick story with the walk-in cooler. So working in a breakfast restaurant that I was in, the walk-in cooler was in the basement, and it was quite a ways away. And we decided that that was the best place to keep our hash browns, even though we're going through 10 pounds of hash browns every, you know, half hour at times, half hour to an hour. That was where we kept our hash browns, right? So we had active storage of hash browns on our line in a drawer, and then our backup was actually in the basement. Okay, so that's more. It was in more of a long-term storage area as far as I'm concerned. Well, I go down there to get hash browns at one point in time, run down the stairs. You know, I fell numerous times as well. Stairs are a bad thing in a restaurant. Anyway, so I run down the stairs, get to the walk-in, and I can't open it. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like it's locked, and I don't even know where a key is. And I'm the sous chef at the time, and I'm like, what's going on? Is somebody playing a trick on me? I slam on the door, nothing. So we end up having to pull the, and we're out of hash browns at this point too, right? And we're a breakfast place, and we're not selling hash browns, okay? So so we end up, you know, I get a guy to help me, and we take the, you know, pop the hinges off, you know, get a drill, pull the door down, and of course we pull the door down, and piles of hash browns come falling down on us. But that's what had tripped the lock on the walk-in. Our hash browns were stacked too high in the boxes, and they fell over, funny enough, and that's what I needed, was the hash browns. They fell over, knocked the lock down. Anyway, that could have been avoided if we would have had our backup storage closer to our active storage, okay? Because that's more long-term storage. That's long-term storage is things you don't need to get to during service. You don't need to worry about. Oftentimes people keep these in sheds, like out back. I've even worked at places that have a storage shed for a lot of their things. They don't use that often, whether it's seasonal things, plateware, things like that, backup plateware, backup glassware that are off-site. You know, so you have to drive to them. But it's another way you can consolidate your space. You know, buy a cheaper space, cheaper lease, and then pay, you know, $50 a month for a storage shed down the road. Okay, so so that's something to think about too. Under booths, this is a fun one. I've seen this. Don't keep things you need during service under the booth. That's going to get awkward. So this is a good place to store other, you know, backup things. If you have like banquettes, right, like booths that go along the walls, most of the time those actually flip up and you can get underneath them. Great place if you run out of storage. Great place to store boxes of stuff you're not going to need to get to. You know, decor for Christmas and stuff like that you rarely need to use. Tuck it in there, right? And then you can just pull it out when you need it, right? Above the line, so above the hot line. This is a good place to keep stuff too. A lot of restaurants are actually using like suspended shelving that drops down from the ceiling. Now, obviously, you have to have proper reinforcements up top and everything like that, so you can have that drop down. But that's a great place to keep stuff too. Plates, even backups of bread, stuff like that you're going to use to have above you. Okay. And again, this isn't stuff that I'm going to need to get to for service. I'm not going to keep my bread, my buns I need for my burgers during service. I'm not going to keep them up so high that I have to like jump or have somebody boost me or step on a step stool to get up to them, right? That's not going to work. I want that on my active storage, stuff that's right in front of me, okay? Freezers are another example of long-term storage, okay? So that's stuff that you're not going to use, a la minute during service, right? Backup, we kind of talked about this. It should have gone in the middle. Single door cooler, small freezer, walk-in can be backup if it's close enough, right? Back of your line, a cooler on the back of your line, something like that. That's an example of backup storage. Most time, backup storage is just often a replication of what you have in your active storage. So you can fit, usually can't fit everything you need for service in your active storage. So your backup is literally a replication of one of your coolers in active storage, right? Very important with our storage FIFO, what does that mean? Somebody. Yes. Thank you. Excellent. First in,
out.
first out.
First in, first out.
Absolutely. Yep. So we're making sure any place we're storing food, that we're able to, sorry, let me just stop share real quick. So anywhere we're storing food, we should have it set up so that the oldest item we're grabbing first. Okay. So whatever came in last, most is what we pull first. Okay, our oldest food. Hazardous materials, hazardous food items like chicken, like raw proteins and such. Those go on the bottom. Okay, and I think you guys talked about this in sanitation already. I hope, yeah. So, but it is important when you're setting up your restaurant that you know exactly where these things are going to go, and you have space to not only accommodate fast service, but more importantly, or just as important, to accommodate safe service, right? Because like I said before, it doesn't matter if you're super busy and slinging food like mad. If you don't have, if your sanitation is faulty, is shoddy because of your design, then you're screwed, right? You're going to get shut down by the health department. So keep that in mind for sure, right? Any questions on this design stuff, kitchen design stuff? No? Awesome. I'm going to show you your assignment for next week. I think anyway. I think, as far as I know, all of you are going to have a back of house. So there shouldn't be any examples of. I know a lot of you were doing a food truck or a grab and go type thing where you didn't actually have a back house, or sorry, a front house. Everyone should have a back house. If you don't think your concept is actually a kitchen or a back house, then just call it a production area. Okay. If you're doing catering, if you're doing a at-home private chef type situation, again, design either the food truck slide or the kitchen slide to look like you would want your kitchen to look like in your home, or in your catering situation. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen one last time. Want to see my screen? Yeah. Cool. So this is an example of a kitchen. Now, as Amelia did in her front of house design, if you want to cut this thing in half, you can totally cut it in half. Your kitchen does not have to be 1,000 square feet. Okay. Amelia, can you explain how you did that real quick?
Okay, I already researched for the place, so my space is 1,560 square feet, and the shape was rectangular on your assignment. So what I did was like an L inverse, and I cut the first part where it says walking, and that was my front of the house, and then all the rest was my back of the house. Was I explaining myself?
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. So the bottom line there is you do not have to use the entirety of the 1,000 square feet. You don't feel like you got to put 6 prep sinks in there because you don't have, you have too much space or whatever, right? So, same thing with this grill. If you can get away with a grill that's half this size, sorry, my dogs are freaking out. If you can get away with a grill that's half this size, please, by all means, do it. Right? If you can get away with burners, give me 1 second. I'm gonna shut my dogs up.
Do what you got to do, chef.
Sorry about that. They love howling in unison. They think it's the greatest thing ever. So anyway, okay. So I'll share with you guys one more time, just show you. This is a super fun assignment. So, you guys crushed the front of house thing, like I said. Back house, what I'm going to be looking for here is that you're designing efficiently, okay? That you don't have, a bunch of weird stuff going on. If you had 20 burners across here, and then a grill on this side that cover the entire space, I'm probably going to dock some points, right? Otherwise, go have fun with it. You have all the equipment, just like last time. You have all the equipment you can pull from the right side, drag and drop stuff. You can stretch everything to different sizes if you want. If you wanted a bigger grill, smaller grill, larger mixer, smaller mixer, etc. You can shrink all those boxes. If you have an item that is not on there that you want to include in your design, then just label it as such. Okay, so. Let me think of an example of something that's not. Oh, a steamer. I didn't see a steamer. So use this box, call it a steamer, right? You can put a text box in there so you don't have to do this sloppy writing like I'm doing. But now if you do this, though, I can't take points off. So if you write weird stuff like this in terrible writing, I'm just going to have to give you credit because I did it. Anyhow, so this can be a steamer. This can be a, convection oven. It can be a blast chiller. It can be, vacuum sealer, whatever you want to throw in there. Okay. So if none of the equipment that is on the right side of the screen, matches what you want to do, what you want to use, build it, right? We got square boxes, just build it, label it so I can see what it is. I am looking for efficiency here. Okay. So Chef Ryan and I will dock you points if you block this off completely. Okay. Even this looks pretty tight to me. So, think about things like that, right? So this is how your facility should be set up. Preps in one area, lines in another area, okay? And then your cold storage is going to be back here, right? So you're pivoting back and forth, or it's going to be underneath your grill, like a drawer unit. One thing here that I would say is, how is my food getting out the doors, okay? So these are my doors. Is this efficient? I don't know. I didn't make this, by the way. I'm not just like making something and saying it's stupid, but not that it's stupid anyway. But think about maybe opening this end up, so you have two pathways through your kitchen. Okay, that's one critique I'd give this design, is maybe you want to open up both of these. Assuming everything's finished out this direction. This is more of a linear kind of example, I think. So if everything's finished out this direction, I'd want this to be like a flat surface I can pass stuff through, okay? But ideally, we don't even have to pivot. Like I talked about making that omelet. If I can make that omelet, if I can make that dish and everything's right in front of me, right, and I don't have to even turn around and spin, I'm going to save so much time. Not to mention, the toll that it takes on your body. Even if you're just taking a step over and over and over again, it wears on you, right? It's going to wear on your cooks. It's going to make their lives harder. So we want longevity in our cooks. We want them to hang out with us for as long as possible. So if we can do simple things like position equipment in the right space so that their lives are easier, we should do that, right? Right? That's going to help us in the long run. And again, bottom line, it's going to help us make more money. Okay, so questions about back of house, heart of house, kitchen design? Nobody? All good? Cool. I'm going to stop recording.